the Sophtar. That is, it's hard to see probably from there. It's sitting on this makeshift table here. And it's an instrument that I've built in collaboration with Sukandar Kartadinata, who perhaps many of you know is a great artist, instrument builder, polymath. And he was supposed to come here today, but he sent me a message saying, sorry, I have to fix something that broke before Sunday. And that's, to me, is Andrea's instrument, maybe? Okay. And that, to me, like, he made himself my hero for the day, because he's there fixing, like, our instrument. And so Sukandar is a fantastic person to work with. And yesterday, Alberto and I were speculating that if there's a different timeline where Sukandar got kidnapped, music in Berlin would sound different. And I think it's true, frankly. Like so, the Sophtar is something that I designed to kind of, I designed it for myself. So that's already something that is, you know, rather introspective. When you start designing something for yourself, you have to deal with lots of things about yourself. Like what you dislike, what you're bad at, what you think you're good at, but perhaps not that much. And so, like, I designed the Sophtar as an instrument to actually learn myself, that perhaps leverage, like, uses a few of the skills that I already have, but that's something that I want to get better at eventually. So it's very new. We actually finished it just for a concert back in June, and then we're still tweaking it. And it's got two sound boxes, two resonating chambers, and 8 strings, and various peculiarities. Like, as you can see, it does look a bit like an electric guitar, and then later at the end you'll tell me whether it actually is or not, because I have my own ideas and some other people had different ones. And it's got first this, like, button that is right here. It's spring mounted, and you can tilt it on 2 sides, and it's inspired by the button you find on the non-marteneau, le touché is called. And on the non-marteneau is used for controlling amplitude of the notes that you're playing, and it's quite remarkable how simple that thing is. It's like a centriole, nearly, and there's just like rubber and like some ferromagnetic dust in it, and by pressing it you change its resistance, and people do all sorts of very virtuosic tremoli on it. So yeah. Those things, you know, that you can just learn from, actually. And in this case, I use it more for controlling the amount of feedback that goes into the instrument. It is a feedback instrument. It's, yeah, sorry if I mentioned feedback once again, but it is. And so the thing with this sort of pseudo touché button that I find really interesting is that by tilting it on different sides, I can basically dynamically change which end of the instrument resonates most, like the lower strings or the higher string. So within that gesture, you kind of go from the high strings to the lower ones, and everything in between. And then once you found like a spot that you like, there's a little button above it, and you can like freeze it there, and you can do other things then. Right? So I'd argue that it's kind of not really guitar-y as a gesture, but we can leave that conversation for later. So yeah, this is what the body looks like. There's that rosette there. It's actually placed on top of the computer. Is actually it helps the computer to cool rather than the sound to come out, and yeah. It does. It's got that like baroque flair to it, but like underneath there's like a ventilation fan, like a cooling fan, and for the records, those are 8 interlocking snakes, like 8 feedbacking snakes that resonate with the 8 strings. I'm very proud of the design, so I tend to point it out, and on the upper part, there are like 2 sets of 8 sliders. The left ones are to individually adjust the feedback gain of each string. So there's like a sort of 2 different gain stages, the touche button and the sliders. So if you then want, for example, have just one string, you can then have like a finer control just with the sliders, and you can also mute it with a button. Yeah, and then the knob, and I mean all these can be assigned to anything, obviously, but I would like to find a configuration I'm happy with. Then here with the pinky, I've got like a kind of so-called kill switch to do like fast staccati and things like that. And yeah, the feedback happens on the other end of the instrument. There's like a transducer in here in this kind of second sound box. It's also inspired a bit by certain sitars that have like that bigger gourd on the top, and also I was inspired by musicians like Glenn Branca that like put 2 bodies on the same neck and do this like 3 bridges kind of thing, crazy stuff, and that sound on both sides. So like there's I could talk for hours about the people that inspired me and these instruments by resonance, but yeah, those are just a few of them. And so these are the guts of the Sophtar, actually not even all of them. So again, thanks to Kandar for dealing with this. It did a fantastic job. That's Latte Panda as a single board computer. This is the audio interface Sukandar's design that also, as far as I know, is in Andrea's instrument as well. And yeah, those are like teensy for controlling all the sensors, for handling the data from the sliders, etc. And yeah, there's also an air tag, so if I lose it, I know where it is. And finally, or I hope I'll know where it is, because here now it's not shown in this picture, but there's the preamp of the transducer. And one thing I haven't mentioned actually that it's extremely important for me, it's basically why I designed this thing, is that, let me see if I've got a close-up that can show it to you a bit better than these pictures, but actually you can see it yourself during the break. The fretboard of this instrument is sectioned. There's like a long strip of material under each string that floats on an FSR, force sensitive resistor. So each string is individually pressure sensitive, okay? Which means this came more from my interest in, if I want to connect to one of the presentations later, my interest in exploring latent spaces and machine learning models through gestures that I'm familiar with. So let's see if I can show you something. So like by exerting a bit more of pressure on the string when I fret it, I get, I send the signal of the FSRs into this variational autoencoder, or rave model, that is trained on a lot of traditional Korean singing. And then, depending on how much I press, I get sounds from different parts of that model, for different like location of that latent space. And so like sometimes I would like, you hear it's a bit different from how it sounded before, because I pressed on two different frets, or actually strings, compared to where I was before. And so I really like this idea of exploring complex models, like, you know, the rave model is something that a lot of people are using. Adam, I know, is experimenting with it. There's probably other people in this room. It has become very popular. And it seems like with this, not just rave, but lots of other models that consist on perhaps a reduced representation of a very large and complex space, that we're still dealing with how to then explore this space. I've tried myself in various other ways apart from this, and it's just about, not just about machine learning. It could be like corpus-based concatenative synthesis uses various dimensionality reduction approaches to pretty much do the same thing, to try to kind of find a few, we think, meaningful dimensions out of a very highly dimensional space. And yeah, and so to me, it makes sense to explore this with strings and finger pressure, all right? And so a lot of the stuff I'm talking about are in this paper that is going to be presented at NIME in September in Utrecht, which is already available. I think I put a link on somewhere on my website, or if not, I'm happy to send it around. And there I discuss a little bit more the technicalities and also like other connections to my practice, etc. And one is performing with hyperorgans. And the concert in June was at the Kapelle der Versöhnung here in Berlin, which has this beautiful pipe organ that you can control via MIDI. Unfortunately, I don't have a picture of it, but I actually, you know, since time is scarce, I'm actually gonna skip to do a video where you can see it perhaps a bit better. Let's see if I can also get sound, because I don't remember if I switched to the right audio interface. Not yet. All right. Cool. There. So here I'm there, and it's the first time that I spent. Yeah, that's the organ. And it's got this beautiful bass. And there, like, the organ is kind of my sound model. There, you know, it might sound a bit blasphemous to an organist, but I treat it as a latent space to explore, the same way I do with rave models. And there I do it with pressure as well. Yeah, I have 1 minute left. Yeah. And I might actually talk less and let it play a little bit so you get an idea of. This is the very first time that I improvised with it a little longer. Yes. Good. And before I conclude, I would like to thank Adam for having filmed that very video at probably around 1 in the morning. And also thanks to you for listening. Thank you.